Hey everyone, welcome to another one of the National Music Academy vlogs. My name's Rachel and today I'm going to be talking you through 3 steps to making the most out of your practice time. So something that comes up a lot, particularly when I was a vocal teacher, was people wanting to know how to make the most of their practice time if they only have a little bit of time that they can dedicate every day to practicing. So for a lot of us, I know that it can be hard to find 10, 20, 30 minutes a day to practice. But as we all know, practice makes perfect, and it is important that you dedicate regular time to practicing if you want to get better at any craft. So I'm going to take you through a couple of steps to making sure that the practice time that you have is used efficiently so that you're still making progress towards your goals. So the first thing that you should be doing is setting some SMART goals with your teacher. Now, the importance of a SMART goal is that it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-framed. And I would be setting these with your teacher because your teacher is going to be able to help you refine those goals, help you set those goals, and then help you break them down into a practice routine. So specific, meaning that your goal is, there's a specificity to it. It's not just, I want to be a better singer or I want to be a better musician, and you'd be surprised when I was a singing teacher how often I heard that as people's goals. Because if it's not specific, then it doesn't give you any direction. It needs to be measurable, because a measurable goal is one that you know when you've achieved it, or you know when you're getting closer to achieving it. So there has to be some kind of metric in place that you can use to measure the goal. So for instance, if it's to be able to play a particular piece or a particular passage of a piece at tempo, that's measurable, because you can start, say, at 100 beats per minute and you can work your way up to 150 beats per minute, which might be the tempo you're aiming for. An achievable goal is a goal that is achievable by you, in the sense that some people have goals that they say want to get into a particular production. So they've got an audition coming up and they want to get into that. They want to win prizes or awards, stuff like that. And those are good goals to go and do the audition. However, the outcome of an audition is really out of your control. So if your goal is to get the lead in a musical, and you don't achieve that for reasons outside of your control, maybe you do the best possible job you could in the audition, but there's someone else who is a better physical fit for the role, looks closer to the character, or just has something slightly different. That's outside of your control. So an achievable goal, or an achievable version of that goal, would be to do the best job possible at a particular piece for that audition. A realistic goal is one that's achievable for you. So achievable is one that you can achieve for yourself, and a realistic goal is one that is sort of within the realms of possibility for you. So if you've just started your first guitar lesson, it is probably not a realistic goal to be shredding on the stage of an arena in the next 10 weeks. Probably not. I never say never, but it's not very realistic. More realistic goals could be things like learning particular scales, pieces that are sort of at an appropriate level for you. And a lot of times people consult with their teacher about what's an appropriate level, what's realistic to expect to achieve, particularly if you're just starting out. And finally, you want your goals to be time bound. So you want there to be a deadline on your goals, because if they're just sort of for the future, it can be really, really difficult to keep driving yourself to achieve those goals. Deadlines help us achieve a goal by a particular time, and also give us time points to reassess where we're at with our goals as well. So for instance, end of term, having deadlines coming up that are things like exams, performances, auditions, recording sessions, those are all really good examples of time-bound goals because the deadline's are already set. If you've got a goal that doesn't necessarily have a deadline, it might be a more technical based goal, just a general skill that you want to improve at, then set a time frame for yourself. So either end of term, end of the month, end of 6 months. end of the year. Set yourself a time frame for it so that you at least have a deadline on it and a point at which you're going to reassess and see how much you've achieved towards that goal. The second thing, once you've got your SMART goals set, is you want to sit down with your teacher, preferably in your first lesson, and work out what steps, what technique, what skills you're going to need to develop or build on to reach those goals within the time frame that you've allocated. So for instance, if you're a singer, which I am, and you've got a song that you want to be able to sing by the end of the term, so you've got 10 weeks to do it. Say for instance, there's a section in the bridge, the note's too high, you can't hit it. So you've got to work on things like your range, your breath support, you're going to want to be working on your registers as well, and your transitions between the registers. So you can see that we've got this SMART goal, but we're breaking it down into smaller steps that you're going to need to take to achieve that goal. This is where it's really crucial to do it with your teacher, because your teacher is going to be the one who's going to be able to give you that technical guidance. So they might be the one who says, yeah, this piece is an awesome piece for you, but you have to really work on this technique. It could be your finger picking technique if you're a guitarist. It could be playing semiquavers evenly if you're a piano player. Whatever the technical skills are that you need to hone, that's where your teacher can come in and give you not only the guidance on what it is that you'll need to develop, but the technique to develop that. So this is where in the lessons your teacher will be giving you things like warm-ups to do, technical work to do, skills to make sections of a song easier to help build up those technical skills that you're trying to work on. So this is where it comes to the practice at home. You've worked on these skills in the lesson, you've got particular technical goals that you need to work on to hit your final goal for the end of the term. How do you make the most out of that practice time that you've got at home? This is where there's a couple of things that I would be doing, and the most important one is focusing your practice time. So if you've only got, let's say 20 minutes a day to practice, that 20 minutes should be dedicated solely to practicing. It's better to spend 20 minutes doing nothing but focused practice than it is to spend an hour and a half just sort of singing while you're doing other things or playing around aimlessly, because that's not focused practice. That's not practice that's going to help you really work towards your goals. Might be fun, it's awesome to do it for fun, but it's not focused, targeted practice. So if you've got a small amount of focused practice time, make sure that that's all you're doing. So set everything else aside, have somewhere that you go to practice, have somewhere that's a sort of comfortable space for you to be able to practice your instrument or practice your singing, and make sure that for that 20 minutes, that's all that you're going to be doing. What I would do is start with some warm-ups, and start with warm-ups that your teacher's given you in the lesson maybe, or resources that your teacher has given you that are going to work towards the technical skills that you've been developing in the lessons that are targeted to help you reach your goals. So for instance, if we're using this singing example that you need to be working on your range to hit high notes in the bridge of this song, you wouldn't do warm-ups, for instance, that are entirely targeted at articulation. Because it's not, if you've only got a limited amount of time, you want to be warming up these specific techniques that you're going to be using in your practice time and the ones that you want to develop. So once you've done a couple of warm-up exercises, you're properly warmed up, go over the sections of the song that you find challenging. This is something that I think a lot of people find really difficult, but it's very easy to just get sucked into practice, start from the start of the song and just play it through, play the stuff that you can already play or sing the stuff that you can already sing, and then just kind of gloss over the stuff that you find a little bit difficult. If you've only got a limited amount of practice time, use that time to focus on the stuff that you can't already do. That's really important. It's a very hard thing once you first start because it's uncomfortable to try and focus all your time on stuff that you're finding challenging. But the more time you spend focusing on these sections, the easier they will get and the less challenging they will get. Use the techniques that you've used in your lesson. This is where having a recording or some notes from your lesson is really useful, and this is why at the National Music Academy we use lesson note platforms to send you guys content from the lessons. So you can use the techniques that you're practicing in your lessons at home. I would also be, when you're practicing at home, keeping a record of the practice that you're doing, be that keep video recordings, keep audio recordings, maybe write it down in a book, whatever is comfortable for you. But keep notes of what you're doing, sections of the song you're working on, techniques and exercises that you're using, and write down what helps and what doesn't help, what you're finding easy and what you're finding difficult. This way you can go back into your lesson the following week and say, I tried a couple of different things and these ones really worked for me and these ones didn't. That way, your teacher can then go back over the goals that you've set, reassess a little bit, find out what's working for you, and then tailor your next week's practice for those goals for the end of the term. So just to wrap up, guys, if you're trying to make the most out of your practice time and have an effective short practice session, 3 things that you need to do: set your SMART goals, break those goals down into technique or smaller practical based goals. And then the third thing that you need to do is focus your practice time on those smaller technique goals. Thanks guys, that's all from me for today. If you have any questions about practice goals or any other topics that you want to hear us chat about, mention them in the comments below or get in touch with us here at the National Music Academy.